Hi, my name is Sabrina Lujan, and I'll be talking about the sexual double standard and gender differences in attitudes towards casual sex amongst U.S. university students. Sorry, it took me so long to figure this out. I don't know why, but anyways, the introduction of this journal. This journal article follows the research done by Paula England and Jonathan Bayrak, who find that many women face more gender discrimination when it comes to sex compared to their male counterpart, which I think most people realize, especially right now, and especially during like women's rights movements, that women will just feel discriminated compared to men. The study They study the differences in gender inequality between men and women and how both sexes view casual sex in a college setting. They also challenge the question whether or not men want more casual sex than women because traditionally women wanted relationships. And we come back to the reasoning of women being judged way more for this than men ever will be. When it comes to this type of circumstance, it is widely known that men get praised while women get shamed. Prior to the end of World War II, most relationships that participated in premarital sex were going to already be engaged. Since then, both sexes have been widely participating in what we call hookup culture. Throughout this whole journey, it is discussed how women feel and how their view of themselves after the encounter has changed, and why men will never feel the same shame that women feel. Background. I talk about some like buzzwords throughout the whole entire presentation, meaning like hookup, sex specific, and stigmatized. This study was performed in the US between the years of 2005 and 2011. They took students that were mostly from a middle class background and went to a 4-year university instead of community college or transfer students. They did that because most community students or transfer students only had 2 years of the college experience, whereas traditional 4-year students went in right out of high school and had all 4 years to find themselves or find people to engage in these kinds of acts. They question why this practice of casual sex is more stigmatized for women than men, and how women will be portrayed as loose, but men will be portrayed as prized. There also is a lack of respect that women are feeling after engaging in this, and they wanted to know if they felt it for themselves and if men felt the same way after hooking up with them. Research questions and hypothesis. Hypothesis one is when a woman has hooked up with many people, she is no longer well respected. Meanwhile, men are praised for it. Hypothesis two asks men will overreport their sexual activity, but women will underreport it. They found that men did this because they thought that they looked better in front of their friends and they like to boast about those kinds of things, where they found that women would rather not talk about it in like an open setting. I think it's different for like friends, like when you talk about those kinds of things. But they did find like that there was mostly men who would overreport things. Research questions. Why do men feel so strongly about women not engaging in a lot of sexual encounters, but they are doing it just as much? And are you still interested in a relationship with them after finding out how many sexual partners they had? I actually did ask a bunch of friends about these kinds of things, and I said, would you look at women differently if you found out that she had X amount of um, like sexual partners, like past sexual partners, compared to like men? And most of them all said that they like would look at women differently, whereas like their man, like men, they wouldn't care as much, which I thought was weird, but I did ask a lot of guys. So but the girls that I did ask, it was quite opposite. Like they said that women should sleep with whoever they want, whereas like it should be shame for men, which I think is understandable here. A methodology, they administered a survey, the online college social life survey from 21 four-year universities. They asked a series of questions amongst men and women who were single. They also took more women than men because they found that most men will overreport when it comes to sexual encounters. So they had to adjust their own statistics for men lying, basically. Lying. Um, Professors awarded students with extra credit to finish the survey, which involved an almost 100% response rate, which I think is kind of cool because then they can get a wide variety of different people answering these questions, even though it's for extra credit. They use logistics regression to estimate the probability of the event at hand. For example, the number of reporting for interests in a sexual post hookup. This model also controls the age of the participant, how many sexual partners they had, and many other reasons. On the next couple of slides, we will discuss the outcome and the result of each certain question that was asked and what the percentage of men and women agree on that statement or how they disagree. Main findings, part one. So if we're looking at the table right here, it's talking about women and men's means and gender differences in means on attitudinal questions regarding relationships and casual sex. So I'll just look at a couple of them. I know I was okay. I don't really want to be in an exclusive relationship now because I'd rather be free to date or hook up with multiple people. 25% of women say yes to that, and 38% of men say yes to that. If we also take a look at this chart, you can see that most men, there's more men than women who are like answering yes for these questions. But there is a clear difference between men and women and how they view sex as a whole. There are significant gaps between men and women when they are discussing more opportunities for hookups. Why do we think that is the gaps between them? Um, and then there is still a strong understanding that women and men both want casual sex. There is no lie that like both sexes want this or want something of this kind. Not everybody, but I think in the world we live in, like with hookup culture and things like Tinder or like Bumble, you have so much access to just people compared to 50, 60 years ago. We never had that, but now you can go online and find somebody who is wanting the same thing as you are that night and get it. But then the consequences of the next day or like later down the line, like, will you regret that? I think that's all something you should like take into account. Let's see, there's one more I want to go over. Oh, this one. I would not have sex with someone unless I was in love with them. Only 36% of men say like agree to that, which I think is, I mean, 51% of women and 36. I think it's kind of sad that people don't associate sex with like love anymore. So I think that's what it is, in my opinion. Main findings, part two. Women and men's means and gender differences in means on questions about disrespecting those who have casual sex. So these are the kind of questions that I asked my friends as well. And they kind of agreed with their own sex. There was no like difference really. If women hook up or have sex with lots of people, I respect them less. No, 39% of women say that, and men, 31% say no. But 69% of men say yes to that, and 61% of women say yes to that. And then for men, you can tell that there's only when they say no, if men hook up with a lot of people, men say 53% no, that they wouldn't respect them less. I think that's just how our society has become. And unless things change, stuff like that won't change. So you can tell that there is a clear divide between men and women too when it comes to respect, both because both sexes relinquish respect for the other sex, while the same sex is not as prevalent. Meaning that if a man hooks up with multiple women, he is not looked down upon by other men. Men and women share common ground when it comes to relationships after knowing this person has hooked up with many people. Yeah. Have you ever hooked up with someone, then respected the person less because he or she hooked up with you? It's kind of sad when you think about it. I think it's sad for both parties, actually. But at the same time, I think you are all entitled to whoever you want to do that with. I think it should only be up to the two people who are doing that. And then the conclusion, the overall understanding of this study points out that women are stigmatized for engaging in hookup culture compared to men. And while women receive a negative perception on this from onlookers, men are praised. They do not know why women have less sex, but they believe it can be from a negative attitude people associate it with. There are gender differences, though, when it comes to casual sex and how they view what casual sex is. During the study, they surveyed more women than men because they found that most men would lie or give false reports about why they engaged in which can conclude that men like to boast about one's sexual endeavors while women do not want to feel judged. Following up from the main findings, part 2, it is also disclosed that both genders criticize each other more than their own genders. Overall, men and women face different obstacles when it comes to casual sex on a college campus and will continue to face that after they graduate. I think, I don't know if I asked on this. Yeah, I did on the future research page. Um, I think this could be done again and maybe focus on people freshly graduated from college because when you're in college, I believe that the social circle is so new and so big. There's so many opportunities to meet people. And then I would also like to see how dating apps have played a role in this since the study was done prior to dating apps. Um, because this was done 2005, 2011, so dating apps weren't really a thing. And even in that time, like casual sex was still a very prominent thing. But I think now it has completely changed to being so much more than it was 10 years ago. Um, I think dating apps have grown into a whole new market of research for casual sex amongst the younger generation, and it has changed a whole generation's view on sex. I full heartedly believe that dating apps have led to a lot of intimacy problems and things like that, and having so much access to women or men. I don't know. I think it's really something to look into. And then my citation. But overall, I think this was actually a really cool study to look at because it's something that's in my age group and my friends have, participated in. And um, I think it's important to look at someone more than just a sexual like object, men or women. But yeah.